Hello and good morning. I'm Janine Ezzell, the Executive Sales Manager for Chicago Title, just a couple blocks from here. And I'm very thrilled to be part of this business conference today. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our panelists. So, first to my left, we've got Christina Janis. Christina, she's starting her 11th year in real estate. And she's a 2018 graduate of Washington Realtors Leadership Academy. She serves on a lot of committees that I serve on. In fact, yesterday we had breakfast, lunch, and dinner together, all at different venues. She is part of the MLSA of Thurston County, a broker director in 2017, and the president in 2019. She's a past president for Thurston County Realtor Association, Government Affairs Director, currently for Thurston County Realtors Association. In 22 to 24, she's our Washington Realtors State Director. She's also part of our Junior League of Olympia, 100 Women Who Care here in Olympia. She also has community service time down at our community soup kitchen with the Realtor Group. She's part of Lacey South Sound Chamber member. I know, we might have to take a break between all these. Thurston County Chamber member and an OMB Board of Director and co-chair for Government Affairs. In her spare time, she's married to her wonderful husband of 36 years now. They have 3 lovely grown daughters, one of which I just got a couple days ago. And 2 spoiled Great Danes and 4 grandbabies that are fur babies. And she loves volunteering, making our community safe and welcoming to all. When she has free time, other than that, she spends it traveling, hiking, and kayaking. So that's Christina Janis. Directly to her left is Jessie Simmons. I did tell all the panelists that if they did not give me bios, I was going to make stuff up. Just wait, I'm going to introduce Jen. All right, so Jessie Simmons is an Army veteran with a combat tour in Iraq, as well as 8 years of service traveling to several locations around the world. He and his family made Thurston County their permanent home in 2014. Jessie is a St. Martin's alumni with 2 master's degrees in political science and political management. He created a path for himself through local advocacy and politics, and he even ran for public office in 2021. He's now found a home as the Government Affairs Director at Olympia Master Builders, where he advocates for building affordable housing for all economic segments of society and across 5 counties, including Thurston, Lewis, Mason, Grace Harbor, and Pacific counties. Also, in another sign of his commitment to the construction trades industry, he helped build the state's first recognized pre-apprenticeship program dedicated to economically stressed young people of color. Let's hear it for Jessie. And to his left is Jen Himebaugh. I was going to make something up and say that she was an emu rancher and is working on becoming a professional MMA fighter, but she did send me a Bible, so we'll go ahead and read that. I know, an emu rancher, that's pretty good. So, she's currently the Managing Director of External Affairs for the Building Industry Association of Washington. She holds a bachelor degree in political economy from Hillsdale College. She lives here in Olympia with her husband and 2 dogs, and when she's not advocating for more home ownership, she can be found in her yard tending her flowers or in her kitchen cooking with butter. Let's hear it for Jan. Wonderful. Well, I want to thank you all for being a part of this panel today. And with that, I think we're just going to go ahead and step right into our first statement question. So, when we hear the term affordable housing, how do you interpret that, and how does your segment of the industry work toward that goal? And I'm going to start off with Jan.
All right. Well, I was exhausted hearing their bios, so I just talked about cooking because, my gosh. So great to be here with you this morning. It's so good to see so many future, leaders in our community and in your own communities wanting to learn and engage in these topics that you're going to hear about today, especially home ownership and home opportunities. There's a lot of conversations about affordability and in the work I do. So I do Managing Director of External Affairs is a very long, lots of word title for I'm a lobbyist. Right, so I talk to legislators, the state legislature, and tell them how what they're doing is making it easier or harder for my members who are single family home builders to build homes that the people in their community can afford. And so, and the homes that people in their community can afford is a little bit different in the world that I live in than affordable housing. So this is the sort of bugaboo, right? Words mean things. I had a college professor always say that to me. Words mean things. He whispered. It was weird. But it comes back to me a lot. So affordable housing, everyone just thinks, it's housing that people can afford. In sort of state and policy conversations, that term is synonymous with subsidized housing. So it means that the government is somehow taking someone else's tax dollars and putting it into building government subsidized housing. And that's fine, and that's all well and good. I tend to like to use the word accessible home ownership opportunities, which means that people who don't necessarily need a subsidy should have access, or who aren't below sort of your average median income should be able to afford a home. That's, to me, a better term. Accessible, attainable, those types of things are where I tend to focus my efforts on making sure that we don't need as much affordable/subsidized housing, so that everyday people who have full-time jobs, who have a median income, can afford a median-priced house. In Thurston County, that is not possible, right? So the average median income, I think, is somewhere around just under $90,000 a year, and that's a good wage. Okay, that's not like a bad wage. And in order to afford the average median house, you have to make somewhere between $170,000 and $175,000. That's almost double what the average median income is to afford the average median house price. So that, to me, is a big affordability gap. It's a problem. But the people who are making $90,000 shouldn't need to go to the government for a subsidy to afford housing. And so that's sort of what affordability, attainability, accessibility mean to me, and where I work in that space. I don't know, does that make sense? Are we? Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jan. All right, Jessie.
Had to make sure it was on. Can you guys hear me? Hey, it's good to see everybody. I'm glad to see that all these future leaders are out here. As far as affordable housing goes, I think, Jan nailed it. It's really like words mean things, right? The legislature actually defined affordable housing here in the state of Washington as a third of your monthly income. Now, whatever that may be, you should be able to afford a house at whatever your level of income is, whether you make $200,000 a year or you make $30,000 a year. And there's a place for all of that. And I feel like here locally, the term affordable housing does get conflated with subsidized housing quite a bit. And so, and there's a place for that, but much the same as Jan, I work in a little of that same space. I just do it at the local level, so at the county and at the city level, and I work with local regulators and elected to try to come up with ways to make what they do at the state level translate to actionable items on the ground. And so whether that's subsidized housing or it is affordable housing for your median typical income, you got to be able to build those houses. And the more expensive it becomes to build housing, the less likely that just your average family is going to be able to afford a home in this community. And so I work closely with Thurston County and Lewis County and officials down there to make sure that they're not overburdening our local builders so that they can provide those houses at whatever income level for you and your families and anybody that wants to live here.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jessie. All right, Christina.
Well, I'm just going to say ditto. No. They really covered a lot of it. I pulled up some stats last night, and this was I kind of knew it in my heart, but 2013, let that sink in. 2013 was the last time Thurston County was affordable for first-time home buyers. So that's 10 years. 10 years has gone by since a first-time home buyer can enter the market. Now, it's not all doom and gloom. I work in new construction, is my 90% of my business. The market right now is rough, so for those of you, if you're looking at investing in the future and stuff like that, be patient. My biggest problem is right now interest rates. and inventory. Our inventory right now in Thurston County is, as of yesterday, we had 570 active homes. That sounds like a lot, but it's really just a month and a half of inventory. So if we took on no new listings in Thurston County, we would sell out what we currently have in a month and a half. That keeps those prices high. And right now, the we're all on median income. Median price point right now in Thurston County is 505, and that was in September's data. So think about that. And the interest rate's hitting 8%. That's really taken a lot of people out of it right now. I would say first-time buyers, if you're looking at being investors in the future, start saving. Good news, bad news. She told me to be cup half full today. Not all
she
doom
didn't
and
tell
gloom.
me that. So.
Yeah, I got the don't be doom and gloom. So with high home interest rates, also bank rates are up. Put your money in savings. Start saving now. So when the market shifts and gets, you'll have money for those down payments and stuff. So just think about that. But we do have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to do. I will say last year, and it looks like in 24, ledge session is definitely going to be hitting hard on housing. There's a lot of creativity out there. I mean, our own Rep Barkus is a real big proponent for lot splitting. So making things a little more affordable. If you've got a family that's got an acre, how about dividing that? You know, is it going to be a little, hopefully you like your family. No. But, you want to live next to your aunt and uncle. But lot splitting is a great tool for first-time entry buyers to get in the market. So I would also encourage you guys, get involved with legislative session. Always tag into us. I'd love to share. Our Realtors Association is really active, just as OMB is and BIAW. Tag one of us if you want to find out what's going on in this session. We have weekly updates on our Realtors page and such like that, but love to tune you in. But it starts local and it grows from there. So pay attention to what's going on. Thanks.
Wonderful. Thank you, Christina. All right. So, and I did say no doom and gloom. Wait, a little bit, but not a lot. We have to be positive. All right. So, our next question, and I'm going to let Christina lead with this. So, can you let us maybe your opinion on how young people and those entering the workforce can break into the housing industry, and what are some career or employment paths?
Trades. Get into the trades. I know I'm sitting here next to Olympia Master Builder, but we need trades. Like I said earlier, I work mostly in new construction. I have seen over the last 2 years a lot of my people retire. My own site super is retiring in December, and I'm like, but George, we started this neighborhood. You can't leave me. He's retiring. We've had our plumber retire. We've had, and so we don't have those people coming in and stepping up and taking over those jobs. And guys, those wages are amazing. I mean, these are living wage jobs. It, might get a little dirty, but you know what? There is nothing better than the smell of wood when the framing goes up. So call me a new construction junkie, but I love walking home. But yeah, I would just say look at trades. We really, really, really need more people in the trades. Men, women alike. I mean, we just need bodies in the trades. Real estate, investing. I mean, that's always, what is it? Buy dirt, They're not making any more dirt out there. You cannot go wrong. Real estate is generational wealth. I mean, it kind of feels kind of bleak right now, but it's going to get better. It always does. I have a daughter that lives in Oregon. Perfect case in point. I mean, she and her fiance bought a house 4 years ago and bought it for $263,000. It's now valued at $500,000. That's generational wealth that they're creating. Now, granted, the interest rates are so high, they're going to hold on to it a little longer because they don't want to upsize. But that is amazing generational wealth right there to think about what a 4-year investment did for them. So just think about that. Love to chat with you guys more if you're interested in the real estate world. But also got great people right here next to me can lead you into the trades.
Fantastic. Thank you, Christina. All right, Jessie.
Yeah, I think there's really a ton of paths moving forward in the construction industry, even in local government. But what we're seeing right now in the industry is that there's really a lack of new full-time employees coming in, new people interested that want to fill the role that has been filled by the previous generation for the last 30 years. But there's so we're in an interesting situation right now in the industry. There's a whole generation of people that have been working in the industry for about 35 years now that are aging out, that are ready to retire, ready to buy that forever home, go live by the lake, and we need to fill the gaps that they're leaving. And so, yes, I would agree with Christina. We need people in the trades. We need people swinging hammers. We need people, at the ground level. But we also need people, and I'll plug St. Martin's a little bit. I am an alumni, so, I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't say that, St. Martin's does have a great engineering program. We need engineers. We need engineers that work for the county, for the city, and for builders. And so we need, we need city planners. We need permit technicians.
Yeah, but good ones.
Yes, good ones, yes. And those that are willing to work with the industry and willing to, understand that the people on the ground have the information to, and the knowledge to tell you what works and what doesn't work. And so we need quality people to enter these fields and actually do quality work, because bottom line is we need housing, and this panel may, I would say, not always agree with the governor, but I will say that we agree in that we are in a housing crisis, and we need people to build those homes, and we need people in the industry. So, yeah, there's a lot of pathways. As was mentioned in my bio, I did help start the pre-apprenticeship program up in Pierce County at Palmer Scholars, and we focused on young people of color and people who, were economically stressed and couldn't afford to kind of take that path into the trades or go to school. And so there's lots of programs out there that will help you get into the trades. If you have a desire to do that, it's never going to be a no. Even if you can't afford it, somebody's going to help you. Somebody's going to try to help you get on the right path. And also, Olympia Master Builders has an education foundation and offers scholarships as well. So there's all kinds of opportunity. There's all kinds of ways to get involved in the trades, whether you're running a business, whether you're an engineer, or you're just swinging a hammer every day. It's quality work. It's and it pays a good living. And so, yeah, we just need more people at every level.
Before I let Jan speak, I am going to throw in one statistic that I heard, and I thought you shared it with me yesterday, Jessie, that for every 10 people currently retiring from the trades, only 3 people are coming in to replace them. That is a significant deficit. So it's definitely one thing to consider. And the trades are vast. When you say the trades, it's not just somebody going in to build a house. It is all of the people that it takes to support that construction. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Jim.
Yeah, I don't have that much to add. You are here today at an institution of higher learning where they give bachelor's degrees, and so I'm sure they're not going to want us to say don't go to 4-year university. And I have a bachelor's degree too. But I think also you can do that and still go into the trades, and there's so many opportunities for folks to start on a job site and work in the summers on a job site. I mean, that's when we're the busiest, is in the summer when the weather is nice, pouring foundations and all of those things. But you can do that as your summer job and get a foothold in, and also be going to business school and learning how business works. And so when that owner retires, you know how to take over a business. Most of my members, I have 8,000 members around the state engaged in all aspects of home construction. Most of them, right, took over the business or bought the business or started out working for someone else and now own their own business. And so getting a foundation, educational foundation in business or future business year, like this conference today, is a good way of doing that, so that you can still do the trades, and it's not just, grunt work, but there is sort of an actual business aspect to it, because, right, you've got to make payroll. If you're owning that business, you've got to make payroll. You've got to know how to do a bid. You know how to do those things. So it's a good opportunity. There are all sorts of levels of things to do. Do everything that they said. And it's also very rewarding. It is great to talk to folks who are working on job sites and go around, and they can, or drive around. I drive around with my members sometimes, and it's, for me, annoying, because I don't build houses, but they do. And they're like, oh, I built that house. I built that house. I did the roof on this. I did the, and they're like, but it's like there's a sense of pride and ownership about seeing what they do. I work in the legislature. I don't get to see what I do. I mean, right? It's all these esoteric, they're very real things, but they are these sort of concepts, right? There's not a hard thing to see. And I would focus on and take a look at actually being able to physically see the fruits of your labor is incredibly rewarding. And it's pretty cool to show your kids or your friends or your parents what you have done and what you have accomplished and the beauty that you can build too.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. All right. So with that, we're going to transition to what's your opinion of the building industry climate currently? And I'm actually going to combine a couple of my questions, and because it also ties into what's happening currently with our housing legislation in Washington and nationally. So business climate and legislation. Jessie, I'm going to let you start it off.
Oh, I get to start this time. Yeah. Well, I mean, the industry climate right now is probably as you would expect. I mean, you look outside, the rains have started coming, and so August through the winter is kind of a lull in the industry. I mean, people are still building, people are, doing roofs and things like that. But I mean, to be honest, yes, right now you'll see a kind of a lull in the industry and work slow down a little bit. But once it gets warm again, it really picks up. And oftentimes our members are overwhelmed with work and have work scheduled, several months, if not years out. So, I mean, yes, there are ups and downs like any industry. So right now I would say the industry is kind of slowed down a little bit. But it's not all just as a natural phenomenon. I will also say that, some of the downturn in the industry can be self-imposed. So, I mean, we have local regulations and everything that are limiting building quite a bit. And so, and on like the availability of buildable lands, some lands are protected, some lands are kind of limited on what you can build on them. We have different regulations that are imposed on building, like shoreline management, habitat conservation, things like that, and it's a journey to navigate those obstacles, but usually the building departments will work with builders, and if houses really need to get built, then you can kind of find a path through that. So, because I don't want to be completely negative, I do want to say that there are those, and that's when we were talking about like quality people in those positions, like engineers and things like that are going to understand how the industry operates. And so, yeah, right now we are seeing a downturn for several reasons, but, it always bounces back, and there's always work to do out there, and we need housing, and more people are coming here. We're always going to have growth, and so there's always a need for the building industry. So.
Perfect. With that, I'll turn it over to Janis.
Yeah, so I think that building climate, look, my members are going to build the houses that they're told to build, and they're going to make money on it, right? They're business people. The point is to make a profit so that they can pay their people and feed their families. This is, earlier the dean was talking about value add, and that's what businesses do, right? They provide a service, but they also need to provide a service to their employees and to make sure that you have a business so that you can take care of your own. So they're going to build, as I tell legislators on a regular basis, you're going to add this cost, you're going to add that cost, and you're going to add, whatever you want us to build a unicorn stable onto every home or whatever ridiculous thing they've come up with. We'll do it. It just means that normal people won't be able to access those homes, right? Regular people earning a decent living wage won't be able to have the opportunity to enter the home market. And so, right, my guys are doing fine. They're busy. They don't like the interest rates. They're busy, but they're going to continue to build. They're going to do what they need to do. This downturn for this little economy-wide is a little bit different than the last one that we went through, as it's not housing related. So that's a positive for them. But because we don't have, as Jessie talked about, and we're dealing with this a little bit in the legislative session, because we don't have enough land supply, right? Because we don't have enough pieces of land that we're allowed to build on, you are already constraining supply. And what happens when something that is needed and wanted, there's not a lot of supply of it, the prices go up, right? When you constrain supply, prices go up when there's a demand. It's sort of the supply and demand curve, supply side economics, yada, yada, yada. And so, opening up stuff like lot splitting that Representative Barkis is working on and being able to say you can build more than one unit on this lot helps with that. But the other side of that is also there's sort of this affordability or attainability housing monster, and it's two-headed. There's a supply piece of it, and then there's the cost input. So when you talk about zoning, for instance, which is a supply side issue, the zoning that says you can put this kind of thing here and you can't put that kind of thing there, and we're going to make sort of like it very complicated and a pain in the butt to do anything, and you don't actually know what you can do without going through a very expensive engineering study. But just that constraint adds, in the state of Washington, about $70,000 onto the cost of every single family house. That's before you turn dirt. That's just added cost of the lot. So it's 70 grand, okay? That's one thing. And then let's say, so that's the supply side of the two-headed monster. The affordability side of the two-headed monster, since 2009, our state's energy codes have added about $50,000 onto the cost of a new home. Okay, so you're at $70,000, $50,000 before you've ever decided to build a house. You're all well over $100,000. Then you talk about permit delays for a county in Washington State. Permit delays are about 6.5 months. I'm not talking about permit fees and costs and all those things, but permit delays alone in Washington add over $30,000 onto the price of a home, because a builder also often has a loan to build a property. So what they're doing is they're holding onto a construction loan, and as they're waiting through the permit process, they're paying interest on that loan every 2 weeks when that payment is due. So they're paying on that. That's 30 grand. In Thurston County, it's 17.5 months permit delay, which is over 70 grand. So you just zoning, energy code, that's just 3 things, right? 3 things, 2 affordability things and sort of the cost inputs, and 1 supply side thing, and you're already well over $200,000, right? Like, no kidding. Why do you think housing is not attainable for the normal working family in Washington State? Because these ding-dongs over here in the legislature, or your local city council, or your county commission have made it so difficult because they want, to protect a caterpillar. And like, that's fine, except like when you do that, you mean you're not putting roofs over people's heads, right? So like, you're making choices about the value and what's more valuable to them than homes. Sometimes nonsense, sometimes not nonsense. Those are value adds. So we work in the legislature to try to get them to see the cost inputs, like trying to slay that 2-headed dragon of like limited supply and additional costs that are unnecessary, that aren't actually doing a heck of a lot for the thing that they're saying they're trying to do it for. Those are the 2 pieces of the puzzle that need to be sort of figured out so that you can return to a balanced market, so you have more than a month and a half of supply available, so that prices can come down. Because when there's enough supply, if you were at, say, 6 months supply, which is probably a fairly balanced market, right? That's where you kind of want to be. That's neither a buyer's market or a seller's market. Your prices stabilize and people can attain homes. And home ownership is the #1 way to generate wealth across all demographics in America. So you talk about the American dream, but it is still the #1 way to build wealth. As Christina was saying, right, her daughter and her future son-in-law bought this house. It's built equity already, but that is across every demographic. No matter how you slice or dice people, don't slice or dice people. That's weird. You'll go to jail. But like, no matter how you divide up the demographic, male, female, black, white, Asian, whatever it is, gay, straight, home ownership is the #1 way to access and build wealth and get out of poverty. And so we should make that attainable and do the things so that it costs less to build those things, so that more people can access that ability to build generational wealth for them and their family.
Very well said. Thank you. Thank you so much, Jen. All right, Christina.
Everything she said. I asked my builder, and basically, Jen, you nailed it. That was his thing. It's the bureaucratic overlays that we have to really watch. We're dealing with right now with the delayed energy code and the new WUI, and even your local jurisdictions are just scratching their head and trying to figure out how they're going to make it happen. So, but it's cost. The last energy code alone in my builder's world was $20,000 additional cost per each home. So that's just one energy code cycle was an additional $20,000 to a home. So it's kind of wild how that goes.
And I'm going to interrupt you because the offset claim is, oh, well, you'll save energy over the life cycle of the house. You won't save that. You will not save anywhere close to that in your energy bills, nowhere close to additional $20,000 over the course of the mortgage, because $20,000 in a mortgage up front is a lot more because you're paying interest on that over 30 years. So it's a lot more than $20,000. And you have to have a more upfront at the beginning. So if you raise the cost on the bottom line of that house, you have to have a higher down payment to begin with, which also pushes you out. Sorry.
I'm just going to call you on my speed dial. Jan, I need you. No. Business climate though. So I'm going to put my real estate hat on. It is a really weird market. 1.5 months of inventory should definitely be 100% a seller market. The problem is we have no sellers. It is a boon for me right now in new construction because guess what's available? New construction. I don't have a seller that's not wanting to sell. How many sellers how many adults in here have less than 3% interest on their mortgage right now? Are you going to sell anytime soon?
Heck no.
No. So we don't have sellers selling unless it's a life event or something that's making them sell. We don't have sellers selling. So new construction is actually really a positive for buyers that are moving to the area because they're not burdened with that. So I'm sitting, if you want to call it pretty, with new construction. However, interest rates have pretty much taken out any of my consumers that are getting mortgage loans. I am still seeing cash or very large down payments for purchases, but I'm not seeing my VA zero downs, which is my neighborhood was predominantly VA. I've not had a VA zero down since the rates started ticking up. So it's stagnant, but prices, because of inventory, are still high. There is no inventory. So it is definitely a weird time. We're going to fade through it, but new construction is seeing the positive side of it because the competition's not there with resale. So as a resale listing agent, it's rough out there, y'all. So I've got a couple of resales, and it's kind of brutal on the resale market. So I think they touch base on all the things I would have touched base on the building industry side of it. The costs are enormous. And my builder, even in my subdivision, it's about, I think it was about 100, 110 before he breaks dirt to put a foundation in. He has what he does off-site, some select sites, and he's got a 3-parcel piece where he has spent $330,000 just in habitat conservation mitigation fees alone. That's nothing else. That's not the septic. That's not anything else. That's just in fees for 3 parcels. You're never going to pencil an affordable home out of those costs. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you so much. So I know, no doom and gloom. It sounds a little bleak, but I will tell you, I've been in this industry to some degree for about 30 years. Started when I was 6. And I've been through 4 different cycles where up, down, more affordable, less affordable. So do know it's not all bleak. The market cycles. You hear that, oh, the market is cyclical. It really is. I've lived through it. So, and I believe they have as well. So even though we're in a little bit tougher situation now, a few years are going to go by and we're going to be in a better situation. Of course, even better if we do something about the legislature. Should do. Unicorn ADU. Yeah, that's fun.
I want a unicorn.
All right. So I'm going to let Christina lead us off with this one. And because it is very, recent in our minds, what were the impacts of COVID-19 on affordable housing?
Wow. Do you guys remember that? Oh, by the way, that was my president year for Thurston County Realtors. So if you don't think that wasn't on my leadership vision board, let me tell you, we were on our feet in a hurry. So all I can say is thank God to technology because that let us survive it. Okay. So Realtor hat. Because of our realtor lobbying, we were made essential within 3 days. And that was by no small feat. We have a great Washington Realtors government affairs team that was on the Hill in their ears immediately because you have transactions that are live. What are you going to do with these people? You can't shut a transaction down. So we were made essential by that Saturday. Unfortunately, in the builder side of the world, we were not. So new construction came to a screeching halt.
Oh, no, public sector construction
Public
was
sector, sorry.
essential because that could be safe.
Public, yes, sorry. Commercial, public sector, yes. Single family residential, not so much. We were shut down till June. Ironically, though, the minute we were allowed to build, the boom was real. Rates were still low. We could not build fast enough. I had 0 inventory as move-in ready homes. We were barely catching up. And the reason is because single family and manufacturing was shut down for so long, the supply chain was wrecked. Let's just leave it at that.
How many units did we have typically at that time?
Oh my gosh.
Sometimes as low as under 200.
Under 200. Under
Which
200.
is a balanced inventory for real estate here in Thurston County is about 900 units
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
the market.
It
And
was-
we had under 200.
One day there was 148 available homes for sale. It's frightening.
How fast were homes selling?
Before you could get to the door to show your clients. I mean, people were making offers before they were sight unseen. So, but in the new construction world, that's where we really got hit. And it really took us probably, oh my goodness. We're still feeling it. But let me tell you what, it was until the end of 21, my builder's been building for 36 plus years. It was the first time he had to board up houses because we couldn't get windows. And that was just mind blowing to him that we were boarding up houses because we couldn't get, and let me tell you, you can't get past electrical when you board up windows because you have to have it enclosed and all these other little components there. So it was definitely delays. Delays cost money. As we were kind of ramping up there and we were starting to get that and the interest rates started ticking up, then we had this like wonderful thing of delaying with the county. That was really fun. Took us 11 months. Now, mind you, I'm in a subdivision that has future 8 phases. Our phase 5 took 11 and a half months to get final plat. Phase 5, not the first phase, not the mothership phase, phase 5. This shouldn't, I don't want to say rubber stamp it, but it should not have taken 11 and a half months to get a stamp on it to move forward on housing. That slowed us down. We had people under contract when the rates did take, and because of the delays, we had 2 buyers lose because their lenders wouldn't lock, and they lost because their mortgage payment shot up. So, you know, it's finally, in a weird sense, we're leveling off in the construction side right when buyers aren't buying because of the rate. So, which, like you said, I think is going to cycle back, and we're going to be really good. We're going to have all opportunities for buyers to come in. But it's definitely been a roller coaster. I feel like bobbing and weaving. I think I've been bobbing and weaving since 20. So, yeah.
Wonderful. Jessie?
Yeah, I think, we all know the world shut down. If you didn't know, I don't know where you were, but yeah, the world shut down during COVID. In the building industry, on the private sector side, yes, building came to a halt. And you know, when you have such a need for housing, that's not good. And we've just never really been able to recover from that. And so, yeah, to this day, you hear it, you know, when electeds speak on TV, they say we need Washington State needs 1 million houses by 2045. Thurston County needs 250-something thousand houses right now. Just for the current population. And so, yeah, the population doesn't stop growing and the need for housing doesn't stop. But I think we also are running into the intersection of another man-made crisis in that, you know, legislation and local regulation advances the energy codes like Jan was talking about. The State Building Codes Council is trying to move on to the next building code cycle, implement new stuff. And so as that happens, it doesn't give the industry time to recover, to catch up, because during the pandemic, the supply chain issues were relevant. I mean, the current building codes that they want to implement, it's really hard to get the types of windows they're going to require. It's really hard to get the different types of materials. And so we've never had a full chance to recover as an industry. And honestly, if we keep advancing forward with the building codes, we're not going to recover. We're not going to be able to build new housing. And so, at some point there needs to be a discussion had about, when do we put a pause on new building codes and let us catch up and put people in housing as opposed to just continuing forward with the agenda and really hurting the industry. I think, Jen can probably add more to this because she's at the state level. But
Christina has one thing to add.
I do want to add one thing to that, too, because that goes back to what we were talking about, having new tradespeople. Because when these products change and evolve, we don't have the training. I mean, some of this stuff they're talking about right now, I'll be frank, there's this one installation component that my builder's like, I'm not the first one to fail. Who's going to install it? And so we need people that have the education and the know-it-all to actually go forward with some of these things, and I don't think that's even given grace. So there's a lot more than just, oh, you need to change this to this grade windows. There's a lot more to it. The manufacturer's probably not ready. I mean, as a builder, we had to switch window companies than the last one because the window company that we were using could not manufacture any of that new stuff and in time for us to use. So I just think, it's tradespeople, too, that need to be knowledgeable about the new products coming out.
And the irony there is many of those required products in those codes are manufactured farther away than our in-state manufacturing. So we talk a lot about the reason we do some of these regulatory changes is to environmental impact and carbon output and climate change, but by making sure that the only window manufacturer you can use actually manufactures in Louisiana and they have to get their windows here somehow, you're actually increasing your carbon footprint by transporting them, whether they're on rail or truck. So there's just sort of like stuff that's not considered of providing jobs. But back to the COVID question. So it will never cease to amaze me, right, that at a time where it was a stay-at-home order, the governor said building homes is not essential, right? Like he said homes are not essential. Imagine you're in the middle of a remodel and you don't have a toilet in your house. And that was we were told you cannot finish that job. What does that person do? Oh, but by the way, you have to stay at home. You can't go to work. You can't do this. There's just a matter of, and a lot of my guys were just like, screw that. We're going to put a toilet in for these people. We're going to finish the kitchen so that they can live in their home. But that was breaking the law. I do think that we were in a housing crisis. You paused construction. We were paused for 5 weeks until we got reopened. Private construction was the first original job list or work that was closed originally that was reopened. We were restarted and deemed essential 5 weeks after the initial shutdown in March. But March is the beginning of our building cycle, typically February, March, you're 5 weeks behind, which could be a house. The end, if you're in the actual building phase, once you get all your permits, it goes up pretty quick. So we're in a housing crisis. People told to stay at home, but you can't build more homes, and it's a long win. So regionally in our state, it was problematic, and then we're still feeling the after effects because there was such a supply crisis across the board. There are runs on garage doors. You can't get a final certificate of occupancy without a garage door. There are runs on windows. You couldn't get windows. Refrigerators. The first home show, my local associations, Olympia Master Builders, one of them, do home shows. My first parade of homes back in 2021. Usually, and these are the fancy homes where you go to and you send pictures to your husband. He's like, you need to stop going to these because I don't like your ideas. Because they're all like cha-ching, They got the... anyways, all the pretty stuff, all the architectural digest stuff. I was walking into kitchens that didn't have any appliances in them, right? And you can't get a CO if you don't have those things, or a CO certificate of occupancy. I mean, someone can't live in that home. So you're talking about $2+ million homes, right? The fancies can't find appliances to put into their show home parade of homes to sell the rest of their units. And that still is happening. It's better now, but there's sort of this trickle effect. Transformers. Can't find transformers to put in. If you can't put a transformer in your subdivision, you're not getting power in your subdivision. You're not building the subdivision until there's a transformer in. Or insert whatever, furnaces, washer machines, dishwashers, refrigerators, all of these things across the country were just and are still not being produced at the level that they were to. And also, one of the other fun facts, and this is just the economy is all connected. You know that nursery rhyme, the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker, they're all in 3 men in a tub. They're all, they all need each other, right? The butcher provides meat to the candlestick maker and the baker provides bread, and they all need each other. They're all connected in the economy. So home ownership or home construction was shut down for 5 weeks in Washington, one of 5 states that shut down private construction. Home construction typically uses timber frames. So we use wood frames. Commercial construction, steel frame, but we use timber to build the structural frame of our houses. It's not surprising. But what happened when you shut down here is the West Coast supply of toilet paper comes from Washington State. And you know what toilet paper is made out of? The sawdust from timber framing for homes. So the toilet paper crisis was one of the reasons was because Jay Inslee shut down home construction in Washington State because the mills were not milling those logs, and boards to put in homes because they're like, we don't have customers for this, so we can't send the sawdust to the toilet paper company to make the toilet paper. So, right, all of this stuff is connected and like trickles into issues. So, right, like build homes, make toilet paper, you know?
I want to add a little. Janine, I want to add a little bit what Jan talked about. I mean, we were shut down for 5 weeks. For you future business owners out there, imagine a good business owner wants to take care of their employees, wants to make sure that their employees have health care, have food on the table, can live day to day. And so imagine, that you still have to pay those employees for that 5 weeks. And so imagine, we talked about how time is money in the construction industry, and that adds to the final cost of a home. Well, 5 weeks of being shut down and still having to pay employees and things like that are going to also. So imagine what those homes that were finally able to be built after we came back to work. Imagine what they cost. So.
Wonderful, thank you. Well, we're getting close to wrapping it up. I'm going to have my last question, and then we'll do final thoughts. So I'm going to let Jan lead this one off. What are the challenges that you see specifically in the Thurston County area and Washington, and what are we facing in the next 3 to 5 years? Look in your crystal ball.
Well, I think our biggest challenge, and you've heard this over and over again, and this impacts all businesses, not just home construction or remodels or real estate, is sort of our regulatory environment, and that comes directly from our elected leaders. And so, right, this is not a sort of political event, but vote for better people. like people who understand what it takes to build a home or whatever you're interested in, what it takes to run a business and to pay employees and to send them home safe at night, and what that actually looks like in the real world, not in a pretend, TikTok says capitalism's terrible, TikTok says capitalism's great, but in the real world or whatever, not just sort of glib. Look for the people who actually want to understand, because they can be your number one help or your number one obstacle as a business owner. And for building and for homes, it's absolutely the number one obstacle my members face every day, is sort of getting around their regulatory schemes and not having elected officials hold their bureaucrat government employees accountable for the nonsense or the good stuff that they're putting people through as they go try to run a business or build a home in Thurston County. So I think looking to the future, I hope we sort of look for those people, no matter what side of the aisle they're on, is the people who actually want to find common sense, practical solutions. That's what I'm pushing for at the state level, is trying to look for people and those folks who are going to carry the actual message of attainable housing and do the actual hard work that it's going to take to get our market to a balanced place in Washington. But I do think there is hope. There is always hope. This is America. This is the land of opportunity. I wouldn't do what I did if I didn't think that there was a chance that we could improve where we are and go forward. We've got all of you here today who are, the future or whatever you're told you are. But those things are important. And if you're smart and you work hard, I think those are the important things to focus on. And in Thurston County, I always love to see homes going up. There's a Rob Rice community going up right outside my neighborhood. It's always exciting. I'm like, ooh, they poured another foundation. I love to see that. I love new neighbors. I think it's important. And I think focusing on the good. I also know people were crying over the trees that were, taken down in that community. And I was on a walk with my dogs and someone's like, isn't it so sad? And I was like, yeah, but there's going to be 28 homes here. Isn't that great for people? So reframing those conversations is what I think that is the best way of having those, of moving us into a future where we have a balanced market and people can build homes at an attainable price, so that you all, when you go off and make your, take your pick to the, ice mines or the salt mines to do whatever it is you're going to do, you can afford a home in a reasonable amount of time before you're over 40. Because 40 is old.
All right, Jessie.
Yeah, I think, locally it's much the same as it is, nationally. We're facing several crises right now. We've got climate change on the horizon. We've got affordability. We've got limitation, the regulatory framework. so all of these things are kind of colliding right now, and really, not to beat up on folks too much, all of those things are issues, but they're not issues that we can't overcome. And you guys are set up to do that. If we get good people in the right positions, if we elect the right people, my advice to you, if I was to give you any, and take it with a grain of salt, I took the long road to get to where I'm at. So you guys hopefully do it a lot more efficient than I did. But if I was to give you advice, I would say be involved in your local community. Join your local organizations, your associations. If you're running a business in the home building industry, join the local building association. I mean, stay involved and be active politically. Go in and go to your city council meetings, go to your county commission meetings, and let them know that we need housing. We're struggling to build. All of these things that you're doing are creating obstacles, and we need it to be easier to build housing because there's several things that are just inevitable. This area is going to grow, and I mean it's growing at a faster rate than it ever has. People are moving here. People want to live here, but what that creates is a limitation on supply, which brings prices up, and then we self-inflict some of our wounds. A limitation on buildable lands that I was talking about earlier. When we regulate the land to death and can't build on it, we have nowhere for people to go. And sometimes you see it out when you're out in public. You see that people need housing. And so I would say on a positive note, get involved in your local associations, your local organizations. Be a value to your community and not just somebody who makes money and goes and hides in their house, but actually be involved and stay involved and make sure that you hold the door open for those behind you. Don't just shut the door after you gain success. Like actually make it where people in the future can have some of that same success.
Christina.
That's exactly what I was going to say. No. One thing I always say to new realtors coming into the industry is get involved. I mean, that's the only way you're ever going to, and I always say start local and move up. National is the national circus that it is, but guess what? You start local. It's grassroots. I'm always a big advocate of grassroots. You've got, I think Michael Stedman left, but you have local council people here that are willing to chat with you. We've got some great elected officials that do work across the lines. I mean, I think we definitely need to see more bipartisan workability things. I think we've gotten to this point where we try to alienate somebody who doesn't agree with us. I think we need to meet in the middle and start figuring out what is going to get us to the point. I don't know when center became a bad word, but I think we need to find common ground because I can guarantee you that you can talk to somebody you don't even know in here and you're going to find common ground. So why aren't we doing that on the bigger scale? And I think that's something that we really need to work hard. And that's what I'm hoping with new up and coming leaders that are right here in this room, that you go out there and reach and find common ground. Because I think there's a solution for everything on a common ground level. Everybody wants quality of life. I don't think any of us want to live in the McMansion with the big pool, and the,
Unicorn stable.
And I do want the unicorn stable. I have 2 Great Danes, so I probably need a unicorn stable anyways. But, I maybe it is the half century club that I'm in, because 40 is a baby right now. So, simpler things mean more to me, but I think we need to make sure that our path for our future leaders are where they know they can come to common ground, common solutions, common sense. I think that's something that we've kind of let go, and I hope we bring that back.
Fantastic. All right, I'm going to wrap it up with one final question, each different for each panelist. So, Christina, if you had a house that had confirmed poltergeist activity, would you advertise it as haunted?
Heck yeah. I had a farmhouse, you guys, no lie, when I was a little kid. I'm not going to lie. There was things that would sit on your bed at night. And then everybody know those old farmhouses with the attic door thing? And once again, dating myself, in the 60s, 70s, we had this big wood toy box. And it was like an act of God to get that thing to move. and it would move the door, and my mom would come and yell at us, like, what are you playing in the attic for? I'm like, we're not. So, but yes, I would advertise it. I think, it's not just a Halloween thing, but some people love that. I mean, look at some of the notorious homes, how much they sell for. So, yeah, it's crazy.
It's true. All right, Jessie, are you prepared? All right.
Not at all.
So if you had the opportunity and you had to choose to fight one bear-sized squirrel or 10 squirrel-sized bears, which would you pick?
Maybe one bear-sized squirrel, because I can focus on one target. I did serve in the military, and I will say that when you have multiple folks coming at you, it's not. Yeah, no, you're more likely to have the upper hand if you're just facing one. Although one bear-sized squirrel. I don't
Like
know
a
that
koala bear, or?
I mean, yeah. Are we talking grizzly? I don't think that's a winning battle. So.
All right. Okay, so Jam. Yeah, candy corn. Those little traffic cones of joy that are full of sugar. What is your stance on candy corn?
Why would you eat earwax?
It's fabulous. It's just straight sugar rush. All right. So can we have a big round of applause and thank you for our panelists?